Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Dockery for the Dockery Docket. Today is the very 5th episode of the Dockery Docket, and I am very, very excited to be here, and I hope that you are excited to be here as well. I want to apologize, everyone who was waiting on Tuesday, eagerly waiting for episode 5 of the Dockery Docket to come out, but I decided to take a little break because it was the holidays, I had a lot going on, and I thought that this week would be calmer than last week. Boy, was I wrong, as I have received all of my finals for this week, so I have to do those and get them done by next Thursday. So hopefully that'll all work out, and by next week I'll have more free time because I'll be graduated. So these shows are about to get more exciting, more intense, more fun. So I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you used some of the tips that I talked about in the previous video, and I hope that you were able to talk to your communist uncle, because I know that we all have a communist uncle or communist teacher. So I have a lot of different ideas for this podcast. Been talking to my friends a lot about it, thinking about doing like a Dockery Docket pop socket, maybe doing something about my political journey, something like that. Maybe when we reach 50 subscribers on YouTube, which we're at 23, I think, the last I checked. So we got a ways to go if we want to do that. So if you want to help me with this podcast, more than willing to receive any help that I can get, because you know that I need it. I especially want to add pictures to this podcast because I know my logo is so cool, but at the same time, I want you to be engaged with the video, watching the video and seeing cool pictures. You know, I can add different things here and there. You know, if I'm talking about Trump, I can add Trump into there and stuff like that. So I can't really talk about this stuff a lot because there was so much news this week. It was crazy. So everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people are dropping out of the 2020 Democratic primary. So I was going to do this whole big article on how Steve Bullock dropped out of the race, but 99.999% of you would have said, who in the world is that? So I decided to cut that out. But someone more important, who was actually on the debate stage multiple times, I think since the very first one, has dropped out. Drumroll, please. It's Kamala Harris. This was very shocking. I was sitting in one of my classes when I got a notification from my news feed, and it said Kamala Harris drops out of presidential race. A lot of us thought that she was going to be the one to win it. I mean, she had what the Democrats liked. She had charisma. She had sort of smarts. She was also African American, and she was a female, which they like to use. The Democrats like to use that identity politics a lot. Kamala says that she is still in the fight, but she's out of the 2020 race. She is still fighting for us, everybody. She's still fighting for us. Man, that is beautiful. So Kamala Harris really rose to dominance after attacking Joe Biden on the issue of busing, which after that, it was discovered that both of them actually don't support busing, which is very interesting. So they both oppose the same thing, but Kamala attacked him for saying that he opposed it, but they both opposed it. Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense there, Kamala. So, and this happened with a lot of different things. She seemed to agree with everything that everyone said. You know, they would ask her, oh, do you want to raise the minimum wage on the poor? And she would say, oh, well, we'll have to think about that. Do you want to tax the poor? Well, yes, I mean, we'll have to think about that. And different stuff like that. And she did that so much all the time during her campaign. She tried to be so hip. She tried to laugh at her own jokes. And also, as I said, agreeing with everything. And this ended up ending her campaign, which basically just ran out of money. As she wrote on Twitter, my campaign for president simply doesn't have the financial resources we need. But I want to be clear with you. I'm still very much in this fight. So she's still there fighting against the evil orange man, Donald Trump. Basically, I think what this means is that she's trying to get a VP spot, which will be very interesting because there are a lot of candidates who are trying really hard to get that vice president spot. This led to Donald Trump going on Twitter and saying, "Too bad, we will miss you, Kamala." And this was, according to the media, a slam, an attack on Kamala Harris, How dare Trump do this? Yada, yada, yada. Trump has done this before. It's supposed to be funny. It's not racist. It's not sexist. It's not whatever ism-ist, whatever you want to call it. Because it's just something funny, you know? It's silly. So, this has led, with Kamala Harris dropping out, this has led to the Democratic Party completely freaking out. Because so far, people who are on the debate stage for the next debate are all white people. Oh, no. But they have forgotten about Elizabeth Warren because Elizabeth Warren is Native American. But anyway, so this has led the Democrats to just eat each other apart. And it's beautiful to me. There's an article called What Kamala Harris's Campaign Taught Us, where this author is mad at African Americans for not voting for Kamala Harris just because she is African American. So he goes on to explain that, but there's something else that we learn or relearn from Harris's run, the enduring practicality of black voters. They, in general, reward familiarity and feasibility. Joe Biden just fits that bill for the plurality of black voters. When it comes to picking a nominee, black people don't adhere to racial tribalism, broadly speaking. They want their votes to matter. They want to pick the winner. So it just seems to me that that is really racist to assume that everyone of one race is going to vote for one candidate because that person is that race. You know, I didn't vote for Donald Trump because he's a white man. I mean, if he could have been a black female and I probably would have voted for him. It doesn't matter about race. It shouldn't matter about race or what kind of genitalia Kamala Harris has. What matters is their policy. And I think people genuinely like Joe Biden because he worked with Barack Obama for so long and he has, I don't know, different ideas about African Americans and how he helped them, which we'll talk about later. Stay tuned for that. The Joe Biden stuff is absolutely crazy. The article also mentions that it is fair to ask about Democrats' schedule of the caucuses and primaries that begin with two states, Iowa and New Hampshire, which are overwhelmingly white, so that candidates who poll best there get the benefit of momentum even before a ballot is cast, before the contest moves to the states with more minorities. So this can be easily debunked by looking at the 2008 Democratic primary. Guess who won Iowa in the 2008 Democratic primary? I'll give you a second to take a guess. It was Obama. Obama won the Iowa Democratic primary, and he lost New Hampshire by only 3%. And in the 2008 and the 2012 election, Obama won both Iowa and New Hampshire. I personally don't believe that these states are racist, and all because they're more white doesn't mean that the people can't vote for Democrats. Have you ever heard of a white Democrat? There's white Democrats all over the place. It's not like because there's an African American candidate that everyone's going to be like, oh my goodness, we can't vote for them. If you're a Democrat and you see a Democrat and you like Obama because he has great charisma and he's fantastic and I really like him, then you're probably going to vote for Obama. And that's the same thing with Kamala. If you like Kamala, you like her policies, you'll vote for Kamala Harris. Not because of her race, not because of her gender, but because of her campaign and because of her policies that she has proposed. So the Democrats are just eating each other up, and it's fantastic to watch. It's crazy, and it has led people like Cory Booker, Juan Castro, other people to try and raise money to get on the debate stage because they're people of color, and they're trying super hard. Cory Booker is playing this whole racism card, you know, all the people on stage are white, and I should be up on stage because I'm black. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see what happens. It's a bloodbath. It'll be a bloodbath. I'm telling you right now. So, speaking of Democratic fighting, so in the end, more than likely, Joe Biden will be the nominee, and he had a very eventful week, okay? He had one of the most eventful weeks, I think, of any political campaign in the whole United States thus far. So this all started with a gaffe from, I believe it was a 2017 interview. I don't even understand how to explain to you what this meant, what he was meaning by this, and other things like that. So I'm just going to have you listen to this clip and just make out something for yourself. Make it out for yourself, okay?
I saw that made me aware when I was in law school. Proudly for Holloway. Proudly for your dad. First African-American state senator in the state of Delaware. Everything about. And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Okay, so hopefully you caught that. Joe Biden, the front runner of the Democratic primary so far, likes kids touching his hairy legs. He had children playing with his hairy legs. Now, I know what you're thinking. What is the context behind this? Because there has to be context behind this. The context even makes it even more confusing to hear. So apparently, Joe Biden was talking about a story where there was a guy whose name was Corn Pop. He was a gang leader. This is all true. This is what Joe Biden said. So there's this gang leader named Corn Pop, and Joe Biden was working as a lifeguard at some pool area. And so Corn Pop was on this diving board, and Joe Biden says, "Hey, Esther, get off that board." Why did he call him Esther? I don't know. But anyway, Corn Pop got all mad at him, and they almost had a fist fight in the parking lot. This is what Joe Biden said. You can go watch the video. I'll try and put a link in the description of this whole entire speech. So apparently this story was about race relations, but what does that have to do with leg hair and kids touching his leg hair and kids jumping on his lap? I don't understand. It's so confusing, and it's absolutely hilarious. So while I was writing this podcast, one of my friends came up to me and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you up to?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm writing a podcast, and I'm talking about how Joe Biden likes kids to touch his hairy legs." And this one girl in my class, she like whipped around and was like, "Wait, are you serious? No way, that can't be true. Joe Biden actually said that?" And I said, "Yes, Joe Biden actually said that children touched his hairy legs," and she didn't believe me. She was like, "That is insane. Are you serious about this?" And I said, "Yes." So she looked up the video and she watched the entire thing all the way through, and she was like, "This is the weirdest thing I have ever seen." And I agree. It is super weird, and it just adds to the list of gaffes that Joe Biden has had. He has said multiple things that have just been so dumb and so idiotic. Even this week, he has said multiple things, and he's also done multiple things that were super weird. His wife, Jill Biden, was speaking, and Joe Biden was standing, let's say, an arm's length away from her, okay? And so she's talking, and she's waving her hands and doing all this stuff. So she waves her hand and almost hits Joe Biden in the face. So as a natural instinct of a human being, usually you just turn your face away, maybe giggle, haha, that's funny. No, Joe Biden nibbles at her finger. He nibbles her finger while she's talking. How weird is that? Listen, who is in charge of the old folks' home, and who let Joe Biden out? Because this man is absolutely going crazy. And this just goes to show that Joe Biden is losing it. He keeps coming up with gaffes, and if this keeps happening, Donald Trump will win. Donald Trump will definitely win if Joe Biden keeps up with these stupid, silly remarks and biting his wife's finger. He also had a town hall in Iowa, and he got mad at this guy who was a Elizabeth Warren supporter. He called the guy fat, and he told him he wanted him to compete with him in a push-up contest, and he wanted him to run with him and to take an IQ test. So Joe Biden got in this whole big altercation, and this guy was all mad and telling him, he was talking about his son Hunter. The guy in the audience was talking about Hunter Biden and how crazy it was that Hunter can sit on the board of Burisma and all this stuff and get tons of money, and Joe Biden was like, "No, you're a liar," and all this stuff. It was just a crazy, crazy thing. And Joe Biden called him fat, and want him to run laps and do push-ups with him. Joe Biden is losing it, okay? He's not a stable person, and I'm very concerned about him, okay? I'm very, very concerned about Joe Biden. But I mean, if the Democrats want him to be their nominee, I say go right ahead, because that'll be super interesting between him and Trump. It'll be super interesting. Both of them will be old. Both of them will be, one will be like this, talking like this, and the other one will be like, well, I think that Donald Trump, blah, blah, blah. No one will understand what they're saying, and it'll be absolutely fantastic. Also, his campaign in Iowa, he has this whole big bus. It's a super big bus. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. On the bus is written, no malarkey. Do you know what malarkey means, viewer? Do you know what malarkey means? If you know what malarkey means, please write it down in the comment section, because I don't know what malarkey means. I don't think half of our generation knows what malarkey means. It's the boomers who know what malarkey means. Okay, boomer. Joe Biden needs help, okay? I feel like I could make a whole podcast about how Joe Biden has just done crazy things and ridiculous things. But there's more to talk about. So, over this past week, we've had impeachment hearings happening. Dum dum dum. Impeachment hearings. And I say dum 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 because I definitely think that they are dumb. So Nancy Pelosi is saying that she wants to move forward with the impeachment hearing, or with the impeachment, with the articles of impeachment. She wants to move forward with it as quickly as possible, because they know that Joe Biden can't beat Trump. They know that Kamala Harris can't beat Trump. They know that Elizabeth Warren can't beat Trump. So let's try and push this impeachment thing really, really good. They had constitutional scholars in for the Democrats during these impeachment hearings this week. 2 of them were for the Democrats, and they were definitely for the Democrats because they were very biased against Trump. One of the ladies said that she wouldn't even cross the street because she saw Trump's name on a hotel. And, you know, you read their social media statuses and they say, well, there should be impeachment right away. How could this happen? Impeachment right away. And all that stuff. And it just goes to show you that this whole impeachment is a sham and it's corrupt. And it's why the White House won't even participate in these impeachment hearings that they're doing. So Nancy Pelosi had this little speech where she came up to the podium and she said, you know, we're going to move on with the articles of impeachment, blah, blah, blah. We're very sad about this, as she's trying to fake a tear rolling down her cheek. We're very upset. We don't want to do this, and all this stuff. So Nancy Pelosi is leaving this little speech that she's making. Someone from the media, James Rosen, a former Fox News reporter, or with conservative Sinclair broadcast group, asked, do you hate the president? How dare he ask that? How dare he ask such a question? So you would have thought that this was him dropping the F-bomb to Nancy Pelosi, because Nancy Pelosi turned around with her laser eyes and looked straight at the news reporter. She was fired up. Let me tell you, she was fired up. So the question was, do you hate the president? And she just went mad. Nancy Pelosi did. She went off the handlebars. She said, I don't hate anyone. I was raised in a Catholic house. We don't hate anyone, not anybody in the world. So don't you accuse me. And then she was cut off by the reporter, who said, I did not accuse you. I asked a question. And this was a question relating to one of the Congress members, Republican Congress members, who asked the judges, the 3 judges, the constitutional judges, if the Democrats could impeach just because they hated Donald Trump and stuff like that. So it seemed to be a reasonable question. So Nancy Pelosi didn't just yell at this guy. She returned to the podium and she said, I think the president is a coward when it comes to helping our kids who are afraid of gun violence, which has nothing to do with the idea of hatred or the idea of hatred in her heart that she's having for the president. I think he is cruel when he doesn't deal with helping our dreamers, of which we're very proud. I think he's in denial about climate change. This has nothing to do with the question at hand. This is just her spouting out how much she hates Donald Trump for these certain things. However, that's about the election. This is about the impeachment inquiry, however, is about the Constitution of the United States and the facts that lead to the president's violation of his oath of office. Don't believe that. And as a Catholic, I resent your using of the word hate. You can't use the word hate? No, that's bad. In a sentence that addresses me. I don't hate anyone. I was raised in a way that is a heart full of love. And always pray for the president. And I still pray for the president. I pray for the president all the time. Yes, Nancy, I bet you do pray for the president. I bet you pray that he will be impeached. You can just see her hatred as she's talking about all of this. And you can tell that she's mad. But she didn't have to go flying off the handlebars like she did. She went absolutely berserk. Now, this is interesting to me. Democrats have accused Donald Trump of attacking the media time and time again. Over and over and over again. He's attacked the media. He said CNN's fake news. All that stuff. The media gasp. How dare he say that? He should retract his comments. Blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada, yada. This is different for Nancy Pelosi. The media are coming out and saying that she was super brave for coming out and telling it like it is to this reporter and saying all this stuff to this reporter and saying that hate is wrong and she is such a strong woman and she is fantastic. I believe that a strong gust of wind could knock her over because she's so frail and old. But that's okay. That's okay. But it just goes to show that the media is so biased. You know, Nancy Pelosi attacks the media. Good job. Way to go. Donald Trump attacks the media. Boo, that's bad. That's against the First Amendment. Blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada, yada. So, this will lead us to our Babylon Bee article of the week, which features Nancy Pelosi. Isn't that wonderful? So the article is called Pelosi Clarifies. She's not one of those extremist anti-baby murdering Catholics. So, this happened in Washington, D.C. Remember, the Babylon Bee is a fake parody website that's just for fun, and it's something that I do at the end of every show because I like to talk about the good news. I like to talk about stuff that is super duper fun, and I think this is very fun. So Pelosi lashed out at a reporter who asked her if she hated President Trump today, invoking her Catholic religion as a bias for her obvious total lack of hate for anyone. This got her in hot water with progressives, who asked if that meant she now opposes abortion, because most Catholics are opposed to abortion, which is a good thing. I'm a Catholic, but not one of those fringe extremist anti-baby murder Catholics, she said. I'm the more mainstream kill your baby anytime you want kind of Catholic. I base my beliefs on the teaching of Christ, who called us to love everybody, except that preborn who can't protect themselves. Obviously, they're excluded. But other than that, I'm very loving. She also clarified that she reserves the right to disavow any teaching of the Catholic Church that contradicts the superior teachings of the Church of Progressivism. So, this week has just been a crazy week for the political spectacle, and I think that as the holiday season comes around, it's not going to slow down. So, with that being said, I believe that I will be here next week, and I'll be done with school, and I'll be so happy. Actually, the day that I'll record it is the day before my graduation happens. So that'll be exciting. That'll be super duper exciting. So, I want to thank you so much for listening. You mean so much to me. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, the like button, all that stuff. If you have multiple accounts, make sure you watch them on all the accounts that you have created. I know who you are who have created multiple accounts, so then my subscriber numbers go up. I thank you for that. But anyway, until next time, as my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving. Goodbye.